Easter, or Resurrection Sunday, is one of the most joyous celebrations in the Christian calendar, and rightly so, as we proclaim the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, through which we are born again to a living hope. But historically, the celebrations of Holy Week have been more somber, and this also is fitting. The excitement of Jesus' triumphant arrival, with which we celebrate as Palm Sunday, is followed by the steady march toward the cross and the tomb. And I would argue that we cannot appreciate the exaltation of Sunday's resurrection until we appreciate the humility and even the humiliation of Christ in the days leading up to it. As we read the gospel accounts of this last week, the weight on Jesus gets heavier and the scene seems to darken. As the week goes on, Jesus is keenly aware of what lies ahead. And as he gathers for his last meal with his disciples, the mood turns gloomy and his grief builds as he approaches the mileposts of the garden, the betrayal, the arrest. My soul, he says to his disciples, is very sorrowful, even to death. Would you consider this grief with me, as illustrated in a poem written almost 400 years ago?
O all ye who pass by, whose eyes and mind to worldly things are sharp, but to me blind, to me who took eyes that I might you find, was ever grief like mine? Without me each one who doth now me brave had to this day been an Egyptian slave. They used that power against me, which I gave. Was ever grief like mine? Mine own apostle, who did the bag bear, though he had all I had, did not forbear to sell me also, and to put me there. Was ever grief like mine? For 30 pence he did my death devise, who at 300 did the anointment prize, not half so sweet as my sacrifice. Was ever grief like mine? Therefore my soul melts, and my heart dear treasure drops blood, the only beads my words to measure. O let this cup pass, if it be thy pleasure. Was ever grief like mine? These drops, being tempered with sinners' tears, a balsam are for both the hemispheres, curing all wounds but mine, all but my fears. Was ever grief like mine? Yet my disciples sleep, I cannot gain 1 hour of watching, but their drowsy brain comforts not me, and doth my doctrine stain. Was ever grief like mine? Arise, arise, they come, look how they run. Alas, what haste they make to be undone! How with their lanterns do they seek the sun? Was ever grief like mine? With clubs and staves they seek me as a thief, who am the way and truth, the true relief, most true to those who are my greatest grief. Was ever grief like mine? Judas, dost thou betray me with a kiss? Canst thou find hell about my lips, and miss of life, just at the gates of life and bliss? Was ever grief like mine? See, they lay hold on me, not with their hands of faith, but fury, yet at their commands I suffer binding, who have loosed their bands. Was ever grief like mine? All my disciples fly, fear puts a bar betwixt my friends and me. They leave the star that brought the wise men of the east from far. Was ever grief like mine?
This Thursday, known as Maundy Thursday, at 7 p.m., would you please join us for a guided hour of prayer as we commemorate Jesus' last night together with his disciples, as he celebrates the Passover meal, as he humbles himself and washes their feet, and then foretells his betrayal by one of them, as he institutes the Lord's Supper as a way for his disciples to remember him and then is grieved by a dispute that arises out of their own prideful pursuits. It was the night that he prayed not just for them, but for all who would follow afterwards, including you and me. It was the night that he sang a hymn with his disciples as he led them out into the garden and then foretold their falling away and Peter's denials. It was the night he prayed to the point of bleeding, and the night he was betrayed, arrested, and taken away. Would you please join us?